presidents to represent me. I'm out for presidents to represent me. I'm out for presidents to represent me. I'm out for presidents to represent me.
You know, initially, you know what I'm saying, I was stubborn. I was that stubborn old head that wasn't trying to change, you know what I'm saying, wasn't trying to do anything other than my turntable, mixer, and my records, right? But then, you know what I'm saying, it just started changing so quickly, you had to wake up and be like, you know what, you ain't going back in time. You got to start embracing this technology, right? So that's when I eventually went from DJing with turntables and a mixer to DJing with CDs and a mixer, right? And it took me a long time to even want to do that because I just felt like, you know, vinyl's where it's at. You know what I'm saying? You ain't a real DJ. Anybody can get a CD, you know what I'm saying? Only real DJs have vinyl, or, you know, I was that guy, right? I was that guy. But after a while, I mean, records got heavier and heavier as I was getting older, and, you know what I'm saying, packing all those crates and setting all that stuff up when I could just get a case of CDs, you know what I'm saying, and some CDJs, and I'm good, you know. But initially, I was that guy, you know, and you ain't no real DJ, you using CDs.
You got on me a couple times, kicked me out. It's like, no,
yeah. But I mean, you know, after a while, you know, you just got to embrace that technology because that technology is getting better and better, and it's just amazing what it can do today. Right here, what you see here, or don't mind, I don't have no needles on my turntable, but this is my turntables that I started out with. This is my this is my original mixer. The very first party I ever DJ with turntables, this is the mixer I had, my old school Gemini long mixer, which is crap compared to what's out today, but it got the job done for what I needed to do back in 1992 when I first started out. So I didn't even turn my turntables. Nowadays I turn my turntables, you know what I'm saying, where the needles are to the right or up top. But back then I didn't have no cases. I basically had just the glass top or the plastic tops to my turntables, and that's how I transported them in the back of my car with my mixer. And if you look here, imagine milk crates, about 10 of them, packing them into every party full of records. Kind of heavy, right? So this is what I started out with. When I started making a little money off of DJ, I actually got to buy me some actually little nice little, you know, cases to replace the milk crates. But that's what I started out with. You can see I'd have to go through, you know, records as I'm DJing, try to find them, put them on, you know, and change records, you know. So I thought I was a real DJ back then. That's why I didn't want to change. I didn't want to give this up. I don't know if you can zoom on this, but this was my setup back then. This picture was taken in 2002. I was still rocking my turntables. This was when I got put on the Red Barn Wall of Fame. You can see my crates behind me, my turntables. I had upgraded my mixer by then, thank goodness. But, you know, shortly after that, though, I switched over to CDs. Here's my next setup. I always like to use industry standards, but when it came to switching from turntables, which Technic 1200s was the industry standard, I had to use those. But for when I switched over to CDs, because I was a turntable DJ, I needed my platters to turn like this. So it gives me the feel of a record. The industry standard for CDJs is Pioneers. But Pioneers, their platter doesn't spin. So that weirded me out, freaked me out a little bit. So I had to go with the Denon S5000s because the platter spun. And it gave me the feel of a turntable. I could scratch, mix, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Upgraded my mixer. So I started out with CDs. Then I went with Serato with my CDJs. Okay? So if I can turn this around, basically you have a Serato box that you hook up to your mixer and your laptop, and then all your music is going from CDs. You convert them to MP3 files, and you're playing your MP3 files through your CDJs. Okay, so that's when I started embracing the technology, like I told y'all about. Went from turntables to CDs to Serato, and then I guess it was maybe about 4 years ago, I took it one step further. Over here, still on Serato, but I went from CDJs to a full-blown controller, and a controller has everything you need in one nice tight unit. But using the same theme, I had to have a spinning platter. So the Newmark NS72s have the spinning platter, as you can see. So it gives me the feel of vinyl. And actually, this cover here is an actual vinyl 45 record. So, but I have 4 channels. I have all type of effects and everything. It's all in one. And this is pretty much what most DJs are using today. There's so many different controllers out there. You know what I'm saying? Pioneer is probably still the industry standard, but like with the CDJs, when the Pioneer started making controllers, they still didn't have the moving platter. I gotta have the spinning platter so that I can feel like I'm spinning a record, even though I'm spinning some MP3 files. But I have to have that feel. So that's my evolution in equipment, from turntables and that long mixer to CDJs, Denon S5000s with the spinning platter, to the controllers with the spinning platter. So if I wasn't retired and I went back into DJing, this is pretty much what I would use. Even though I have brought my turntables back out, because now they're making Serato mixers where all these effects that I have on the controller, they're putting them on a mixer that you can hook your turntables up with. And I have one at home. I didn't want to bring that out today because I didn't want to unhook everything. But I could either use my controller, or I could bring out the old school turntables with my Serato mixer, still spin my MP3 files, and try my best to rock a party. This is what you call memories. I just couldn't get rid of it because I did so many parties with this thing, like those Masonic Temple parties we was talking about earlier. This is the mixer that was used. Red Barn, in my early days, this is what was used. This bad boy, Gemini, is not a good brand, but it got me through, and until I could upgrade. So I'm forever thankful for this bad boy.
As far back as I can remember, I just gravitated towards sounds and how things worked. Turntables mainly, more than anything, because I came from an era of 8 tracks. There was an 8-track tape player, which was was a big cartridge. You stick it in the thing, you push the button 4 times. It had 4 tracks. I think each track played maybe 30 minutes, and it was switch, 8 tracks. And then they had cassette tapes. Cassette tapes got smaller. You put them in a cassette tape player, push the play, record, whatever, and it would run for anywhere from they had 30-minute tapes, 45-minute tapes, 90-minute tapes, and 120-minute tapes. And then on to vinyl. Vinyl was vinyl, like it was like black gold. You know what I mean? It was black gold. It was like you couldn't. Pause. So before the 12 inches in vinyls, there were 45s. 45s would be what we equate to cassette singles, and all a 45 had on it was one song. you had to piece together your equipment. You got a job. My first job was a paper route. Worked with my dad, had a paper route. All the money I got from these paper routes, I would just take and buy equipment. I would buy a turntable. Take my first turntable was a Sansui turntable. They don't even make that brand anymore. And my second paycheck was a realistic mixer. It didn't have a crossfader. It just had a bunch of up and down knobs. And then my third check was another Technique. It was a Techniques turntable, which was a belt drive turntable. But I took those three pieces and just started collecting music. In those times, you wanted to be able to blend two songs that were totally different, and you wanted to make them sound so close to perfect that you couldn't even tell that these were two separate songs. You wanted to just keep the party going continuously. That was the whole goal. So you had to be able to listen and catch the beat of this song and mix this song with the snare, the beat, the bass, whatever you used to catch the mix. And then you had to keep the same tempo. And back then, there weren't a lot of pitch controls. So how did you keep the tempo? You had to speed the record up with your hand. Excuse me. Or you had to slow it down with your hand. Either way, that was your pitch. You were the pitch control. We didn't have those things there. Damn, it sounds so prehistoric. God.
But it was the feel of the record.
It was exactly. It was the feel. It was by feel. I just came in and set up in a club in less than 5 minutes. Back in the day, what I just did would have took all of 2 hours and a half, because you had to go to the place an hour earlier to set up and make sure you had everything. And if you didn't, you had to leave and go run and get something. I asked somebody to bring you something. I just set up in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So for me, I love technology. I love what it does. I dislike what it makes some people think that they're capable of doing. It makes everybody think you can DJ, and it's simple. It's not. Like there's a science and there's an art and there's a gifting to reading a crowd and playing music for everybody. Right. But now people just think, oh, I'm just gonna get a laptop, I'm gonna get a MacBook, I'm gonna get a Pioneer controller, and I'm gonna start DJing. Yeah, you can do that. You can do it, but there'll be a difference between that individual and this individual. You know what I mean? So I love technology, and I salute all new DJs. Please understand, I'm all for it. Learn the craft. You know what I mean? It's my only.
It wasn't really turntables. It was turntables, but it was kind of like I said, the console. Then it went from 8-track. Mm-hmm. Then it went to reel. So then it went to cassette.
I remember the cassettes.
So then you break out the cassettes. Then you got to have 2 cassette players that are identical, because you have to have that vision. You know what I'm saying? You can't have an old beat up one heard and a brand new one heard, you know, or the old little cassette player that you had in elementary school, that top flip open, the portable cassette player. You can't do that. So you have to look like you big stuff. So basically it went from there to it's been a big change. To me, it's been a big change. There is, you know, you have, you know, your speakers, and you have your wires and everything like that. Everything then were in bulk, you know. Now everything is compact. Mm-hmm. You know, you had your record crates you had to carry, you know. You had your big speakers, you know, back then, weighed a ton. You know, you had your turntables, and you had your cases that the turntables go in, it weighed a ton, you know. So now, and you needed help back then, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You needed a crew to help you carry your stuff into the venue. But now, everything's compact, everything's light, you know. That's that technology. They bringing everything in to one, like the controllers, you know. You can do everything right there. You got your laptop. You got everything, you know, you put your music out right there. And all you need is you. The speakers are even lighter. Mm-hmm. But now it's like you can go into a venue and set up 30 minutes, be ready to roll. I did do a couple. And the reason is to get my name out there, promotional use. And, you know, basically just what I did is just for a promotional use, get my name out there.
Right.
You know, and everybody was doing it. So it's like, you know, let me kind of stay relevant, you know, on not so much work. So let me do a mixtape and start pushing my mixtapes, still keep my name out there. So that's how I did that. The music was some mainstream and some local. Like I said, my objective was to get my name out there, and putting the local stuff on there too was to push the artists also. And that's going on right now. You know, it's nothing really different. You know, it was more. I can say it was more back then. It was more of getting your name out there. You know, playing the mainstream music, trying to, you know, stay up on the new music. You know, and staying relevant. That's basically it. And then, you know, the artists come along, then you push them out there. Then you pushing them with your name behind it, you know, or in front of it. And that's giving you more exposures. But plus, you know, the artist will, you know, on their singles, exposure to them also. Same. If you get their relationship, it's the same. But if you just got, you know, Joe Blow just coming up to you, then, you know, that's just a business standpoint right there. You know, just get you know, put me on the mixtape. All right, give me the money, and let's promote. And that's it. You know, you might not hear from the guy no more.
Right.
You know.
Shout out to TDK and Maxwell and Maxell and all these tape companies, because I made a killing back then making mixed. Well, what we called mixtapes then was just the DJ doing his thing. You know what I mean? Like, that was, if you got a mixtape and you heard some different mixes and different things on it, it was like you was the shit. And don't let somebody shout your name out in the tape. Oh man, you thought you was God. And I made a killing in my high school days, in my middle school days, making mixtapes for people and just shouting their name out in it. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, yeah, I became the man by making other people look like the man. You know what I mean? It was dope. So yeah. So I hope I answered. I hope I got to that. And for us, like, the mixtape wasn't never about the artist per se. It was about the DJ's skill. The DJ's skill to keep you bumping. And you gotta remember back then, like, everybody didn't have a studio in their room. Everybody didn't have Pro Tools. Everybody didn't have a computer. There weren't a million artists running around saying, "Hey, put me on." Like, we just didn't have that. Your music had to come from one of the major record labels or from the radio, or whatever the case may be. Like, we didn't have DJing was truly all about the DJ.
Right.
Back in the days, if you listen to artists, they talked about their DJ. And I think somebody say, if you look at the earlier artists, the DJ always went first. There was Jazzy Jeff, and then there was the Fresh Prince. There was Eric B, then there was Rakim. You know what I mean? Like, that was just a protocol. It was all about the DJ. It was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. You know what I mean? It was about the DJ, man. The DJ was is the heartbeat and keeps things going. So, those were our mixtapes. Like,
But that kind of.
I did, but I wasn't a mixtape type of DJ. I would put one out for, like, special events. Like, I think my very first mixtape that I actually sold was probably Freaknik 93. Right?
Right.
You know, Freaknik 93. And I wish I had it to this day. It was on cassette tapes, you know what I'm saying? And I would, I'd get in my dorm room, you know what I'm saying, blend one up. And I'm not talking about just throwing songs on a tape, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, I'm doing a mix, like I'm doing a party or whatever, you know, so I'm mixing and blending and everything. And that was the first one I did. And after that, I mean, I only did them for special occasions, you know what I'm saying? People wanted me to do more, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to do them for me because I'm my hypest when I'm in front of a crowd.
Right.
So when I'm just in a dorm room trying to make a CD or whatever, it's gonna be kind of bland because I'm not hyped.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't get excited. I can't really get into it. So I'm basically just doing the basics.
Right.
You know. So I mean, and then after a while, I started doing, you know what I'm saying, doing them probably maybe once every year and a half, maybe. Once I got, you know, once the technology got better and I started doing track machines and things like that and making them sound a little bit more professional. But early on, you know, I wasn't big into it. I would do them. And I know I did one for probably 3 Freakniks in a row, you know, because everybody was going to Freaknik. Everybody wanted a mixtape to take with them while they driving down there. So I did one probably the 3 years in a row for Freaknik. And then I think after that, Freaknik went away anyway. So.
Yeah, heard the 1 year.
Record stores. Well, my first started from the beginning. There was the cassette tape. Cassette tape. You would catch WLOU, and they may have a mixture or whatever. You would just find your favorite songs. You had to wait by the radio and push play and record. And you would just try to catch the song to the best of the ability and end it. And then you have your put a few seconds in between there, and then you catch your next song. You had to get it from the radio. Like, that was just really it. And then the second step of that was, then you had to invest your money. You had to go to the record stores, either Tiff's Music Store, which was on 4th Street, or Vines Records, which was on 4th Street, or Better. I don't think we had Better Days then, but you would just go and you would buy records. Like, I think a single 45s were like $2. The album was maybe $10.99, and a 12-inch. 12-inch is just an album with one song on it, and the instrumental and the acapella, and the instrumental acapella 12-inch. Yeah, so it was that. I think the 12 inches at the time may have been $7.99, but those were the versions you wanted because those are the longer versions. You know what I mean? And they
Don't make no more.
Yeah. So, but I was also that guy that caught up to doing something else early. It was blending, where I take this acapella and blend it with this instrumental, and it would freak people out because I ain't never heard that version. You won't.
Going to the record store is how you get your music. Well, started off with borrowing, then buying my own from record stores. So that's back then. You know, you go. You know, if somebody had the record that you wanted. You know, most of the time DJ says double the same record. So hey, let me borrow that record real quick. You know, let me do this party. So you borrow your records and purchase your records from record store. So that's what I did. Mom, Dad, I need this record. Take me to the record store, please. Mm-hmm. So that's the two things that I've went through. Borrowing records and buying records.
When I was a DJ, it was all about the vinyl records, right? So you had 12 inches and then you had LPs. And you could go to record stores, you know what I'm saying? They had, I guess the best known record store here was Better Days. You know, they had one on Bardstown Road and they got one in the West End. So you could go there, you know what I'm saying, and pay, you know, $7 or $8 for one record, which could be a 12 inch. You know, so you're getting one song for $7. Can you believe that? But I ran into this one guy, and he kind of put me on to the idea of a record pool. So the way the record pool works is the labels, whoever's running the record pool in your area, they'll send all these records to the person running the record pool, and he distributes them to all the DJs in that area. But of course it costs, you know. But it was like, at the time, it was like $25, $30 a month, and you probably get about, you know, 30 to 40 records a month. So that was a good deal, you know. A lot of crap, you get a lot of crap, but then you get your hits too. So I relied on the record pool for a majority of my music, and then things that didn't come through the record pool, then I'd have to go to the record stores and try to find it. My biggest source was always Cincinnati, because they had more record stores, they had better music. So I'd always run up there, you know what I'm saying, probably once every couple months, and then just kind of like find like old school stuff that, you know what I'm saying, that ain't coming through the record pool, because record pool is all new stuff that the record labels wanted to break.
Right.
So all the old school stuff or stuff that, you know what I'm saying, you've been hearing for years, but you can't play the party because you ain't got the record. You go to a record store and you find it. So that's how I got my music back then. And then eventually, you know what I'm saying, I became I guess you would say, the Louisville contact for the record pool. The record pool was out of Lexington, but I became the guy that ran the record pool here in Louisville and distributed the records here in Louisville to all the DJs. And that's how I met a lot of DJs too.
Programming, you know, it just goes to programming. You letting the people control you. You know, that's all it is, and you shouldn't do that. You know, because like back then, you know, like you were saying, break beats, this, that, and other. DJ, as long as the crowd is rocking, shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
You know, because I feel the way I've done my stuff is that if you playing for numerous people and you doing it, you know, let's say you do it every week. You know, I've done it every week, and I've done the same mixes every week, but it's the way I, you know, put it out there, you know, and you got these same people that hear you play every week and you hear the songs every week, but you got that one or a few people that is really listening to you and listening to your work. You know what I'm saying? That few people right there would probably take you somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So you being programmed to what the club's doing and you playing the same music and you playing it the way they want to play it, you're in a box. You know what I'm saying? But eventually the crowd would disappear because you're playing the same thing over 2, 3, 4 times a night. Because me, I've done it, I've heard it, and I've been to clubs, and I don't want to hear it. Just play that. I give you 2. I give you one early and one late, because you know, come early, the people that come late might want to hear it again. So you got your early birds, then you got your prime time. So you definitely gotta take care of them both sections. But another 30 times, 3 times too much. I give you 2. 3 times too much. So if you doing all that,
I'm the same way.
something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. That's how I grew.
Crowd versus style.
So this crowd dictated your style then, but now your style dictates the crowd.
Yeah, definitely. And I think more so it's in the reverse, where our styles created the type of people that would come out, versus now it's like certain people just come out and they can care less whether you got Kentucky Fried Chicken or homemade chicken. You know what I mean? Or they can care if you have fresh fish versus popcorn shrimp. You know what I mean? Like it's the quality, the quantity versus quality ratio is so far off now. Like now people will have DJ Itchy Scratchy who just decided to start DJing and be totally fine with him playing, and people will still come out in droves and stand around and be bored to death, versus people that come out to have a good time and the quality of music is amazing and nobody wants to leave. You have to push people out the door.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right now I think it's a mixture. I'm going to say a 70-30 split. 70% promoter, 30% DJ. And they're interchangeable. In Louisville, they're interchangeable. Most promoters book DJs on the amount of people they can bring. Most DJs don't realize that they're the actual promoters now. Social media has given us a powerful tool that we can either use or be used by. You know what I mean? Like it goes both ways. The promoters now, I think, have it easier than ever there's no footwork. You don't see flyers, a whole lot of flyers anymore. Nobody's standing on corners. You don't see posters on the. It's a social media. It's a post. It's a blast. It's a text message. And then again, the DJ's always working, so he's amassing followers and people to check him out. So it's interchangeable. The promoters are cool, but the DJ still makes makes your part. Yeah.
So,
No, I never really thought about it like that because regardless of, you know what I'm saying, the promoter of the party or my affiliation with a fraternity or anything like that, my main job was keep that dance floor packed, you know what I'm saying, from beginning to end. And there wasn't really no leeway to do anything because I controlled, you know what I'm saying, the party pretty much, you know what I'm saying. The only person that would override me would be like security or something like that if my music got too vulgar or if a fight broke out and they want to cut the music or something like that. But I controlled the party. I controlled what was played, you know what I'm saying. I controlled my own format, you know. And for me, you know what I'm saying, my thing was, for my style, I'm more of a mixer than a scratcher, right? So in my early days, you know, my parties was pretty much it was like one continuous song, you know what I'm saying. You mixed everything from beginning to end, and the only time you would stop it is when you went to your slow jam mix, right? So, you know, that's.
But to your situation, you should never let anyone dictate on how your style is.
Right.
That's how I feel. You should never do that. If your style is this way, then your style is this way. You let the people, then like you said, you know, people like stuff this way. You can't never mix this. You can't mix a certain way. You have to scratch or dropping records or whatever you could say. But you should never let the people dictate your style because that's put you in a box every time. And where I come from, you do what you do. Now you don't do what the people, you play the songs that make the people happy. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna get them where they need to be. But as far as your style of playing, that's your style of playing. You know, you can't say, you can't let Diane say, hey, turn this music, back that music up with this song, then go this way with this song. But you know what's gonna work for you. See, that's Diane telling you something. But you can't go off that. You just take requests and implement the songs the way you implement them in your set.
Well, you know how I learned that though? It's because when I was vying to be the DJ at U of L, the new DJ, after Chuck had graduated, I had all my turntables, I had my records. I was ready to DJ a party, right? I was real good friends with a guy, which everybody probably knows, Eric Kimbrough. He was a Kappa. They was throwing a party. They needed to DJ. There was this guy that lived in my dorm, lived in Thurgood Hall. Shout out to Thurgood Hall. He was a DJ. I can't remember where he was from, but he wasn't from Kentucky, you know. And he was a DJ, and he was a hell of a scratcher. You know what I'm saying? So Eric put my name in the hat to DJ their party. Somebody knew this guy, you know, pretty much he undercut me on the price, so they hired him. And because I went to this party, and dude could scratch, but he couldn't rock a party. He scratched the whole party, but wasn't nobody dancing. So he was more trying to show off his skill of scratching instead of looking at that dance floor and trying to keep it packed. So from that point on, I was like, because I couldn't really scratch at all. You know what I'm saying? I could do the basics, but that's about it. But I was like, you know, I rock parties with cassette tapes. So, and this guy can't even rock party with, you know, with some turntables and records, you know, because he was trying to scratch. People get tired of that. You know what I'm saying? There's no flow to it. You know what I'm saying? So I learned from this guy that beat me out for a gig that ain't how you do it. Right. So when you became my understudy, I had to let you know, you know what I'm saying, hey, whatever you do, you learn how to mix first.
Right.
Because that's going to be your bread and butter, and that's how you're going to make your money.
And, now that I know the story behind it,
Yeah.
I see why.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I have nothing against scratch. I love scratching. I mean, I can scratch a little bit better now than I could back then. And it brings a different element to it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, people want to dance. Or at least back then. Remember, back then, people actually danced.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Guys dance with girls, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a bunch of guys here, a bunch of girls there, you know what I'm saying, like it is today. But guys actually dance with girls and you know what I'm saying? So they wanted to party.
Okay, so
Presidents, the